Does Michael Jai White versus Mickey Rourke sound good to you? Well, then you might like the Commando. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watcher Pass. I'm here to talk to you about The Commando, which is coming to theaters and digital on January 7th, 2021. It's an independent action movie starring Michael Jai White in a more emotional role than I think you'd be used to for him. And it also has a great cast, including Jeff Fahey and Mickey Rourke. So my hot take on the film is it's got a good cast, a decent story, and some really good special effects, some of them, but it's kind of let down a little bit by a slow story and an inconsistent execution. I'm going to get into that during this review. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the film. I'm going to talk to you about some things I liked, some things I didn't like. There will be some spoilers. There won't be that many. I'll try to keep it relatively spoiler free, but there might be a few things you learn. So if you don't want to know anything about the film, you can check it out in theaters and on demand on January 7th, 2021. Otherwise, let's keep going. So in the Commando stars Michael Jai White as a DEA agent who, after kind of an accident, an unfortunate accident involving a drug bust, goes home to take some leave where he, kind of tries to recover and deal with some of the trauma that both a life in the military and a life as a DEA agent has taken on him. And while he's there, he also gets into a conflict with Mickey Rourke, who is a criminal who had been in prison and was just released recently. And that is kind of the central conflict, is Michael Jai White versus Mickey Rourke. It takes a while to get going, but eventually you will have that showdown. And before that, you get a little bit of Michael Jai White's kind of emotional turmoil. They explore that. They also explore his relationship with his family and some of the choices that his family make that kind of accelerate and bring this conflict to a head. They don't do it knowingly, but they're involved. There's some hidden money, some valuables that Michael Jai White's family discover that Mickey Rourke very much wants back. And, you have the makings of a good action movie and a good conflict. So, things I liked about this movie. The first thing I liked is the opening. That is the initial drug bust where you're introduced to Michael Jai White's character and his kind of role as DEA agent. I thought it was well done. It was a pretty good firefight. There were a little bit, there's a couple of special effects that weren't great, but overall, I thought it was a nice, it was a nice action-packed opening, and I really loved the sound effects. That's actually something I'm going to talk about in a second, but I thought that the sound effects, the gunfire was actually very, very well done, and it was a good kind of action-oriented opening for this action movie. The second thing I really liked is the cast. I thought that the cast was a good cast. I really like Michael Jai White. I thought he did a good job. You don't really expect Michael Jai White in kind of a more emotional role. He's more known as a martial artist and action star. In this, he got to kind of stretch that out a little bit. And I liked seeing his exploration. I loved him being given a meatier role, something where he could really kind of stretch his acting chops. And then I also like seeing Mickey Rourke. I mean, Mickey Rourke, he's showing his age, but he's still got it. There were some really fun scenes. He had some action scenes as well. And it's Mickey Rourke. He's kind of a fun person to watch. He's a fun character to watch. And then you had Jeff Fahey, who I thought was a good job as this kind of like sheriff who, his motivations were kind of up in the air. And I liked that about him. I liked that he seemed to be bad, but then he was very flexible to kind of take advantage of situations. And that provided this kind of X factor in some of the interactions on the film. And the last thing I liked some of the effects. The sound effects I thought were really good, especially the gunfire, the gun battles. I thought they were exciting. I was actually kind of impressed by that, because a lot of times the gunfire is not really given the kind of, I don't know, respect or care that it's deserved. If you have a good sound system or you see it in theaters, you're going to be impressed by this. And also the effects. They did some clever tricks in the house to be able to destroy it without apparently destroying the house. Like when you're watching it looks like they tear up a floor, they break a wall, they do some damage to this house. And I found out when I was talking to the director, Asif Akbar, later, that was all kind of smart special effects, fake walls, things like that. But in the film, it actually looks pretty good. Things I didn't love as much. I mentioned that the film starts with a pretty good action-oriented start, and then it kind of slows down. Now, part of this is required because it lets Michael Jai White's character explore the emotional side of things and kind of being home. But it does feel like you're kind of teased with this action at the start, and then after that, it's a very slow progression to the final, I don't know, action aspect, to the final conflict. And it just felt like the whole tenor of the movie changed after that initial opening, and it did kind of drag on at times. Now, the slowdown did have some good, like some of the emotional aspects, but overall, it did feel like almost like a pulled the rug out from under you. It started with this really big action scene and then slowed down, and then kind of you had a little bit of action at the end, but even that action was over pretty quickly. It wasn't a ton of action at the end for this final showdown that you're all expecting. And the second thing I did not love is there are a lot of little inconsistencies, and this is, I think, mostly due to the special effects, but there's the little things like For example, there were bullet holes that appeared in the house and then disappeared later on. There was a gun that had a silencer in one scene, and then the scene right after it didn't have a silencer. You had someone that was killed on hardwood, and they were bleeding on the hardwood, and then like in the next scene they were on a rug. And you had someone who was shot in the head, and then in the next scene their face wasn't deformed. I mean, they were all very little, but it does distract when you're trying to kind of get into this lived-in world, and you're seeing all these little things that you would hope would have been fixed in either post or would have been kind of fixed during the filming that weren't there. Now indie filming is hard, and I imagine that this was all just either things that they couldn't fix in time or things that were out of the budget. I understand that, but it does lead to kind of a less than polished experience when you're watching the film. That all being said, that is the Commando. It's available in theaters and on demand. I think it's a rental. I liked some of the aspects of it. There was some inconsistencies I didn't love, so I think overall it's a rental. If you want to know more about the film, you can check out my interview with Asif Akbar and also my interview with Jeff Fahey. I talked to them both about the movie and some of the aspects that went into both, Jeff Fahey's character and also Asif Akbar, kind of how he filmed this and how he kind of got this great talent involved. So if you want to know more about it, you can check those out. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. And please check out my other content. I've got those interviews I mentioned, and I've got other interviews, other movie reviews, unboxing videos, and weekly movie recommendations. Thank you.